Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared. ¿Qué onda, worldwide fans of cinema? This is Jaime En Fuego here. I'm doing my best Crypt Keeper impression because we are on the 7th day, that is right, of my Tales from the Crypt coverage here for ENFUEGOTAINMENT, where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge. And this has been an arduous undertaking that I am in the midst of. I basically decided 93 episodes of Tales from the Crypt and 31 days in the month of October, so it was only befitting to try to cover every single episode of one of my absolute favorite TV shows of all time. I adore anthology horror, and we are nearing the end of the 2nd season now. And so basically on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, I cover the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo. And that's right, so a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've been given that designation to one of each of these episodes here, and it's been kind of a fun way of going about it. And probably the toughest segment I've had in every bit of coverage so far here, because I enjoyed all 3 episodes today. Yeah, I did. Here on the 7th of October, I enjoyed all 3 episodes, and so I had to really nitpick, like very just in-depthly, to really give everything a designation. But gotta admit, the Bueno, which is what we are about to jump into right now, is one that when I was a kid, I probably didn't like as much. You know, I thought it was good. I thought it was an intriguing premise. I loved the fact that I saw Richard Thomas, who won an Emmy for the Waltons when he was like a lot younger. But being a big Stephen King fan, I knew who Richard Thomas was for the sheer fact that he played, Stuttering Bill in the adaptation of It that was on ABC from, possibly Stephen King's best book. It really comes down to It, The Stand, Pet Sematary. Like, that is tops for him. But the guy's an incredible actor, but he is not playing a very nice guy in this particular one. He's basically, without giving away too much, because this is a non-spoiler review of Tales from the Crypt, he plays a psychiatrist who kills his wife, and his neighbor witnesses it. His neighbor's played by Patricia Clarkson, and she immediately goes like mute, basically. It was from the Crypt of Fear number 18, and it's got a very like Rear Window type vibe to it, The title of the episode is Mute Witness to Murder, and so she basically cannot talk because she is so flabbergasted, frightened after seeing this crazy crime, transpire right across the window from her house. And so she gets locked up. Everybody thinks she's crazy, but however, Mr. Stuttering Bill knows that it was her that saw him, and that is why she can't talk. So I can't really give away too much. It's nothing supernatural involved. A lot of my favorite Tales from the Crypts involve people coming back from the dead, or monsters or whatever, but this one is pretty cut and dry. It's one of those just analysis of the messed up human condition, and it is just it's an episode that, as I mentioned, good as a kid, but great as an adult, because there was just so much intrigue and, a few twists that I didn't really recall very well because it had been many years since I'd seen this episode. So, yeah, I gotta say, Mute Witness to Murder was incredible. I'd forgotten how good it was, and so this one gets the designation of being today's Bueno. So next up, we have the MALO. Yes, that's right, the MALO, but it's not that MALO of an episode. You know, it's MALO for me. The reason it got this designation is because it was kind of cheesy. You know, it's one of those Tales from the Crypt episodes where it just didn't take itself seriously enough for me. I'm okay with not taking yourself too seriously, but when it's just that gooftastic, it does turn me off a little bit. And this one was actually very self-referential and kind of meta. Yeah, really strange in that degree. So you've got another person from Stephen King's It, that adaptation, actually starring in this one, which is what's really crazy. You get Mr. Beep Ritchie, that's right, dude from Night Court, Mr. Harry Anderson. And, you know, he's basically a comic book guy who writes for, or excuse me, doesn't write, he draws for Tales from the Crypt. You know, they're actually, most of the episode takes place in the Tales from the Crypt offices. So he starts taking these boner pills because his crazy wife wants a kid. His wife is abusive. She talks, I mean, not like physically, but I mean, maybe a little bit. She talks major smack to him. Very rude. It's very obviously not a happy marriage. And so he starts taking these weird pills she gives him, and so from there on out, anything he's drawing starts to come to life. It's really nuts. And so, you know, the silliness ensues. He draws different monsters, and they perpetuate attacks, although there are a couple good gore scenes, one in particular at a laundromat that's quite rad. And so, you know, it's not a perfect Tales from the Crypt episode, but it's actually a lot of fun, and I really had to struggle to give this one the MALO designation. It ends with a very surprising twist for Tales from the Crypt, for the sheer fact that anytime, like, a relationship isn't working out, if somebody decides to, I don't know, break the marriage vows a little bit, their fate is usually sealed. But in this one, and ironically enough, doesn't happen. So yeah, that's a big one to keep in mind. It's called Korman's Kalamity, and yeah, it's not really bad. It's just being designated as the MALO because it's a little bit too silly at times, but still very entertaining, very much worth watching. And as I said, it's meta and self-referential, which I can't really remember seeing much in any of the previous Tales from the Crypt episodes. So lastly, our final bit of analysis for the day here, to give a shout out to Mr. Crypt Keeper John Kassir. Yeah, that's right. We're jumping into the Feo. Yeah, that's right. Feo. And this one is called Lower Berth, and it's very crazed for the sheer fact that it was directed by the guy who was responsible for the special effects, like, work of the Crypt Keeper. Yeah, that's right. Look at that ugly looking guy. Yeah, he was, most of those effects work was done by Mr. Kevin Yeager, and so he had done so much. He had, like, helped out with the Chucky doll. He'd done everything from Face Off to, I mean, the list goes on and on, all throughout the 90s of different really high-profile effects that this guy did. It's another period piece, and we don't see many of these with the Tales from the Crypt, but we did actually in the Dig This Cat, you know, which was from the very first season, where it was a traveling carnival of sorts. This one is very American Horror Story in the fact that it's a traveling freak show, and so that's why it gets the ugly designation, the Feo designation, because there is this poor guy, his name is Enoch, and he has two faces, basically, and not two-face like in the Batman comics or anything like that. He is obviously Siamese twins, where one portion of the other twin did not develop, so there was like a whole other head, like face, like coming out of the side of his temple. It's crazy. And so I don't know if it's his dad or some sort of family member or like a slave owner or something horrible like that, you know, somebody who he's just indentured to serve. But yeah, this guy is abusive to him. We all know that he's terminal, like from right at the beginning of the story, and he ends up finding the love of his life, and that's the best way that I can say this without divulging too much. And yeah, he ends up creating a very, very central character to the entire Tales from the Crypt mythology and lore and stuff like that. And so yeah, period piece, traveling freak show. You've got midges, you've got fat women, you've got mummies, you've got a little bit of everything, and yeah, it's not too shabby of an episode. Funny thing is, Kevin Yeager's younger brother actually is the one who plays the two-faced freak, so that's everything kind of coming full circle, I suppose, right? It was another one written by Fred Decker, and along with the Korman's Kalamity, it also appeared in the pages of Tales from the Crypt, with our very first episode actually appearing in, as I mentioned, the Crypt of Terror, which is what Tales from the Crypt used to be called, in the very early 50s when it was initially launched. So just a tiny bit of history there for you. But yeah, all of the episodes today were actually bueno. I just had to really adhere to the designation and stuff like that, so I recommend watching all of them. My personal favorite, getting the bueno status, was the Mute Witness to Murder, but Lower Berth is good. Korman's Kalamity is entertaining. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it good, but it's not bad. That's probably the one that's going to induce the most amount of laughs. So yeah, once again, I have to say just how stoked I have been and how much fun I have had covering all of these Tales from the Crypt episodes thus far. I'm almost done with season 2, and that's the last one that I remember like really, really well. So 3 through 7 are going to be probably some walks down memory lane and also a lot of brand new experiences for me. So I'm very stoked to not just be checking those out myself, but to be talking with all of you guys across the planet, all the Enfuegotainment fans, about that. So I must extend a grande gracias to John Kassir, EC Comics, just the entirety of the HBO family and all that other awesomeness for putting together such an amazing show that is still influencing people to this day. It is fantastic. I've been Jaime En Fuego, as per always, your host here. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube, obviously. So please do that like, share, and subscribe stuff. Porfa y gracias. Be a homie. Do a brother a solid. And I will be seeing all of you tomorrow on October 8th when I start part 8 of this insane coverage that I'm in the midst of. It has been a lot of fun, and there is so much more fun to come because there are 31 days, my friends. So until we get to talk more about these horrific bits of awesomeness, Fright fans, I will see you mañana, and adios and peace out.